Finland and is instigating violence in your zone. Okay. Good morning and welcome to Tuesday edition of your number one program on television, Inside Nigeria, your breakfast show. And of course, as usual in the program, we have lineup of six papers on our menu today for review. That's the first segment of the program. And of course, we are starting with leadership newspaper, Nigeria's most influential newspaper. Leadership is leading with the APC imbroglio, and it has its headline story as APC begins search for new national chairman. APC begins search for new national chairman. Amakura Sani Musa top list of possible choice. Kyari is acting chairman. Again, party chiefs neck meeting says no plan to unleash EFCC on Adamu Omisore. APC begins search for new national chairman. Amakura Sani Musa top list of possible choice. Kyari is acting chairman. Again, party chiefs neck meeting says no plan to unleash EFCC on Adamu Omisore. APC five national chairmen in 10 years. Of course, we have pictures of BC Akonde, John Oyegun, Adams Oshomole, Nai Bala Buni, and Abdullahi Adamu. And we have June 2013 timeline of APC caucus and ACPC, ACN and CPC, the groups that made up APC. We have June 2013 to June 2014 ACN caucus, Osun State. June 2014 to June 2018 ACN caucus, Edo State. June 2018 to June 2020 ACN caucus, Edo State. And June 2020 to March 2022, we have CPC caucus, Yobe State. And March 2022 to July 2023, we have NPDP caucus, Nasarawa State. That's the timeline when these groups entered, emerged into APC. Apart from that, we have other stories. Federal government confirms first case of anthrax disease in Niger. Subsidy removal, food inflation hits 25.25%. NASENI tells lithium battery producers to set up plants in Nigeria. And above this, we have Rev 6 Space Force to tackle cyber crimes. Northern Nigeria floor mills grows total assets to 17 billion naira. Above the masthead of leadership, we have Kara community introduce ID cards for visitors. Kaduna, Gombe, Taraba, Nasarawa now hyperdeck members. Briefly, we move over to page 3 of leadership, where we have the editorial for the day, and that is our stand. Our stand has rejigging agency heads. Rejigging agency heads. From that, we move over to the back page of today, and that is Tuesday column with Ray Murphy, the Chinese model of palliatives, a lesson for Nigeria. Because this is actually a lesson for Nigeria. Perhaps the federal government will look into it before disbursing the palliatives that has continued to tear the nation apart. From this leadership, we move over to briefly to the nation. The nation also has similar story on APC. Developing story on APC says APC top positions why Adamu Omisore lost out. APC top positions why Adamu Omisore lost out. Lack of accountability, poor leadership allegations, cause of resignations. Kyari Fuanta take over in acting capacities. Amakura Kekemeke may be replacement. These are stories on the nation. We have non-oil exports netted 2.539 billion dollars in 6 months. Non-oil exports netted 2.539 billion dollars in 6 months. Beneath that, we have INEC Tinubu, Abuja residents not superior to other Nigerians. INEC Tinubu, Abuja residents not superior to other Nigerians. This is the address by APC and Tinubu's legal team to the presidential election petition tribunal. PDP Labour Party live on electronic results collations. Varsity workers demand 50 billion naira end allowances. From that, we move to the stories above the masthead of the Punch. We have drop plan to hike electricity tariffs, man conscious. Drop plan to hike electricity tariffs, man conscious. Stories on page 7 of the Nation. And above that, we have database of 15 million poor Nigerians, says agency. How the $800 million will be transferred to beneficiaries. Ex-army chief Bamiyi, troops should crush bandits. President greets celebrated columnist Olatunji Dare at 79. From the Nation, we have the Punch, and it's also the same leading story on APC. It says a audit report names Adamu Omishore as Tinubu governors shop for new chair. Audit report lists Adamu Omishore as Tinubu governors shop for new chair. Aggrieved NWC members welcome Adamu's removal. NEC meeting postponed indefinitely. Kyari Funtua take temporary charge. New leaders to emerge at emergency convention. And have pictures of army and a truck with some ammunition on the page of the Punch newspaper today. Of course, they are quite much, and it has a story beneath it. Army intercepts Anambra-bound truck with ammunition. Army intercepts Anambra-bound truck with ammunition. Troops of 192 Battalion Nigerian Army operating in 81 Division nabbed a syndicate transporting a truckload of ammunition along Agility Owode Road in the Yewa North local government of Ogun State to Anambra State on Saturday. Beneath that, we have autumn. Transporter petitions governor over 32 impounded vehicles. Gunmen kisses in Benue night attack. Suspended EFCC chair spends 33 days in custody. We move over to the masthead of above the masthead of the Punch. It has stories. Federal government grants 56 import licenses as fuel consumption drops. Anthrax government plans nationwide animal vaccination. Politicians flooding government house distracting him. That is from Akwa Ibom governor. On that, we quickly move over to the editorial page of the Punch newspaper today. The Punch editorial is on stop those obscene pets benefits. Stop those obscene pets benefits. That's the editorial. For more on that, just log on to the website of the Punch newspaper, www.punchng.com. From the Punch newspaper, we are also moving over to the next paper with similar headline on APC, and that is Daily Sun. Daily Sun newspaper says APC suspends NEC as Kyari Fuanta take over. APC suspends NEC as Kyari Fuanta take over. Tinubu returns after AU summit in Kenya. Stories on page 6 of Daily Sun. And we have a story beside the masthead of Daily Sun. Presidential Tribunal. PDP Labour Party accused Tinubu APC of intimidating, blackmailing judiciary. Presidential Tribunal. PDP Labour Party accused Tinubu APC of intimidating, blackmailing judiciary. Of course, we move down where as well. We have other stories. Nigeria's inflation rises to all-time high of 22.79% amid rising food prices. Chief of Defence Staff, Chief of Army Staff promised to prioritize troops' welfare, transform military. Soldiers intercept That we also have APC crisis, Tinubu shops to Adamu's successor, APC accounts frozen, National Working Committee confirms ex Nasarawa's governors exit, Adamu Omisore too, bans Omisore from NWC meeting, Adamu absent, postpones National Caucus NEC meeting. Stories on page 27 of Vanguard newspaper. National Assembly committees, lawmakers scramble for Tinubu Baja's endorsement. Federal government moves to evacuate overtime cargoes from ports, and we move above the masthead of Vanguard, where we have Naira depreciation, subsidy removal push inflation to 22.79%. Emefiele, lawyers initiate contempt case against DSS DG Bichi. Deregulation, marketers begin fuel importation, NMDPRA. Federal Road Safety Corps can only operate on federal roads, Happy Court rules. Federal Road Safety Corps can only operate on federal roads, Happy Court rules. Army intercepts truckload of ammunition in Southeast. For more stories on Vanguard Newspaper, just log on to the website www.vanguardngr.com. From Vanguard, we move over to the last paper we have on our menu for review this morning. Just before we move over to the second segment of our show, where we'll have the discussion going on some of the leading stories, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian says Nigeria spends over 99% revenue to service debts as inflation bites harder. Nigeria spends over 99% revenue to service debts as inflation bites harder. That is an exclusive story by The Guardian today. We have sit at home, businesses, schools open in Enugu as Mba vows to see locked businesses. Sit at home, businesses, schools open in Enugu as Mba vows to see locked businesses. APC chieftains explain why Adamu was removed as progressives take over. Fresh concerns over cancerous sweetener in food beverages. AMCOM moves liquidation, return to shareholders' options for embattled Arik Air. Nigeria confirms first anthrax case among animals in Suleja. And above that, we have PDP, Labour Party knock APC over alleged plot to intimidate PE, that is Presidential Election Petition Commission. The story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Just before we go, I want to see what the editorial in Guardian is saying today, July 18, 2023. And the editorial is on JAM and the challenge to lift tertiary education. JAM and the challenge to lift tertiary education. For more stories on the Guardian and the inside stories as well, just log on to the website of the Guardian, www.guardian.ng. Obvious, this is all we can take on this first segment of the program. Don't go away. We are coming back with the second segment of the show, where we have a discussion going on. And of course, well, anyway, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. Just hold on for the second segment.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Welcome back to the second segment of the show, the number one breakfast show on television, leadership television. My name is Winifred Ukbaba once again, and of course, I have with me a guest in the studio, the public affairs analyst, well-grounded analyst. But it's been away for so long, just before the election, and now, boom, it's back. Samela Musa. It's a pleasure to have you today.
Yeah, thank you for
And
having
you're
me.
sure looking good.
Same with you.
It's been a
Thank you.
long while.
Yeah, sure. It's been a while.
Yeah. I don't want to ask how you are doing. It's obvious. So a lot has happened before the
Yes.
elections. Election has been contested and won, and the case is ongoing at the presidential issue.
Presidential. Yeah.
Yes, and of course, we want you to share light on the trending story. You know, the statement in the legal team for Tinubu and APC. They said there will be anarchy if Tinubu is removed on account of the 25%. And it's a story that has made a round in all the papers today. PDP, like Guardian says, PDP, Labour Party knock APC over alleged plot to intimidate PEC. And then we have Daily Sun Presidential Tribunal, PDP, Labour Party accused Tinubu, APC of intimidating, blackmailing judiciary. Same story on the Guardian, the Punch, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, okay. So, like we all know, the judiciary is independent, uh, supposedly independent. And so it is assumed that there shouldn't be any form of interference, either from the executive or from the legislature
Mm,
on the affairs of the judiciary.
mm,
And of course, world over, the judiciary has remained the bedrock of any democracy because that is like the regulator of whatever happens in the executive or to be executive because without democracy you won't have the executive. So I haven't actually read or listened to in what context the president made that statement. I hadn't taken
okay,
my
it was
time.
in the address of the legal team, one that they should also, the judiciary should also use their discretion,
Mm,
that they are not to use discretion, that taking into consideration the fact that it could cause
yeah.
chaos, anarchy, and
Mm.
all whatnot.
Yeah, you see, there's no gainsaying or it's not. I mean, yeah, it's debatable, but the truth is because the way they are making it sound is as if it's the president that actually made that
No,
statement.
it's
So
his legal team.
so yeah, it's a legal team, and
In their address
Wale
to the,
Olenipekun
yes.
is actually one of the respected SANs that we have in Nigeria. I know ordinarily he's actually saying what the truth is. And like I said, in every
Mm,
democracy, you see, sometimes when you already are having some form of stability
mm,
in the polity, to now begin to, because it involves a lot of things,
yes, it does.
you understand? So there's no, you can't take it from the fact that, of course, it can't come from anarchy, but of course, he shouldn't have said that in public. You understand? But it's
Mm,
a fact that we all know. You understand? Because we already have a transition, and then there's a government in place.
mm,
You now need to start fixing dates for another election and all that and all that. So there are so many things involved in those kind of issues. But well, he should have just let the judiciary to
decide.
decide on what they feel is best for Nigeria. I know there was a time we once had one issue in this country. I think it was during Yeradua, and someone sent for the what's this man again? He was also a former CJN. I'm trying to remember the name from the north,
Okay.
and also there's this man from Kwara
Mm.
that they were sent for by
There's
the
no
late
ways.
Metama Waste, and the other man from Kwara, also a former CJN.
Okay.
They were sent for by Dr. Metama Sule
Mm,
to actually get the angle of the law concerning that issue because it has to do with the presidency.
mm,
And they say in the whole world, the judiciary is based on one particular system.
mm,
The system
mm,
the judiciary operates on is to bring about peace.
mm,
That whatsoever, that in fact, in some cases, the man who is actually right
mm,
can be denied that right if it will not bring peace. If giving him the right
mm,
will bring about chaos. So, because the judiciary is after peace
mm,
and stability, so he can be denied and give it to the other person if that would bring about stability. You get so, and I held on to that. From that time, I understood some part of what the judiciary is about. So yeah, it could cause chaos, but I just felt being one of the lead counsel to the president's angle, he shouldn't have said that on air, or for whatever reason. But that's the
However,
reality.
many also have the opinion that okay, what about for those that are sustained in the process? That okay, it's not. Is are you not also denying them their own right to?
Yeah, you see, we're actually getting there gradually. I mean, a lot of people have been denied. You and I have been denied of something, and we moved on with our lives. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's not all the time you get what you want. Even sometimes you feel this thing really rightly belongs to you. Sometimes you have to overlook it, because I remember when Jonathan had to come on air to say, if any Nigerian will have to lose his own life
Yes.
because of his ambition, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
So whoever feels is right. I mean, if it's going to lead to killings and all that, I don't really.
However, but before the inauguration, they did assure that no, it will have nothing to do with it, that they could go on with the inauguration. So why now talking about?
But of course, those are political statements. But the reality is what it is. You understand? I mean, if it could cause, because you see, you're also talking about we have different parties in place. What I thought would have happened is for those other parties to grandstand and say no way and come out, start protesting, let the whole world know that there's not going to be any inauguration until the courts decide who actually is supposed to be inaugurated. I think that would have made more sense than saying, oh, about 2 months into a new government, you want to upturn it, you want everything to go back, you want to fix another election day. Are we going back to the primaries, or just the candidates will come out who you understand what I'm saying? So there's quite a lot of things involved in it. And that's why I know when they say, oh, inauguration can go on, I just felt no, it's almost over, honestly.
Okay.
Yes.
Now we but see the same story on party. Now we are on APC. APC has been having run-ins and all this stuff, and of course yesterday we were greeted with the news that report that the Adamu has resigned and Omisoro. So what is happening?
Yeah, it's expected actually. For me, I feel uh, Adamu shouldn't have even waited till this long.
Okay.
First and foremost, he was never in the same camp with the president.
Mm.
Yes, he came from the PDP, and went into the APC at some point. But it became very clear that he was not in support of the president's ambition when he made the announcement that the president, President Muhammadu Buhari, had endorsed the Senate president at the time.
Yes.
Whereas the president quickly came out to denounce that and say he has no any anointed candidate. So you don't do that. Once you do that in politics, as the party chairman, once you do that in politics, you're already pitching camp, which is very bad, because you can have, of course, it's just like a king, or you are either a emir, oba, or whatever. You can have your own candidate, but it is totally wrong for you to come out in the open and make it known. You can do whatever you want to do, permutations on the ground, but the moment you're coming out, then you're drawing a battle line.
Yes.
Because if your candidate didn't win or didn't emerge in the long run, then you're already
you understand, so to speak.
Yeah. So I felt he shouldn't have waited this long. And after that, if what that thing happened, after the president was sworn in, we saw, I mean, it even happened during the campaigns where he had to write an open letter. You, as a party chairman, you have access to the president. You can sit him down and tell him your reservations. But between the party chairman and the presidential candidate, if you have to write letters, then there's a big problem. You understand? You're also further widening the gap between the two of you. And it didn't end at that. We saw during the Senate president's campaign, the Senate presidency campaign, how he also pitched his tents with Senator Yari against the wish or the preferred candidate of the sitting president. You're widening that gap. Those are pointers to say that quickly just resign and say, because of this, or on personal ground, I'm actually quitting, or I'm even quitting politics in total. You didn't do that. the Senate president that you did not support perhaps refused to consult you when they were choosing their presiding officers.
And you still came out again.
You came out again, and you're still making open. So you are fighting the presidency, you're fighting the National Assembly, you're fighting virtually everybody as a sitting party chairman. It's so glaring that you should have not waited this long. And then you still waited, yeah? You didn't end all these things at that place, but you were sitting on a time bomb because you mismanaged the funds of the party. About 32 billion naira were realized. As of today, the APC is saying it's about 5 or 10 billion that is left in the account, and there's no any proper record on how you spend. You did not release money for campaign as well. So where goes this other monies? So you see, it's unfortunate that, and he's an experienced politician, that one didn't expect him to actually go this way. You see, the same thing they can afford at their state level, because he was a state governor. He will never have allowed a speaker in his own state when he was governor to emerge that he's not his own elected candidate. He will never have allowed his own party chairman in the state as a sitting governor to be doing all this, and he'll be watching him. So when you do the things you can't take, you shouldn't do it to other people.
It's really sad. So what are we going to expect in the ruling party?
Yeah, well, based on the party,
put their hearts together.
They need to put their hearts together.
He was not actually everybody's choice. He was just
the president's choice.
Buhari's choice.
Yes,
that was imposed on
yes.
him. So what are we going to actually look at now?
Well, I know the party will start shopping for a new party chairman, which I believe has actually been zoned to the North Central. By the party's constitution, once the chairman either resigns or is being removed, the next person in the chain of command, who also comes from his zone, will have to take over. And that happens to be the Senator Kyari, who is actually the Deputy National Chairman North. So he's now the acting chairman. But I know with time, the party will shop for a new chairman from the North Central.
Okay, thank you so much. They said according to leadership, Amakura and Sani Musa top list of possible choice, and these were contenders at the beginning.
Yeah, so it all depends if they're all willing to relinquish their Senate seats, because I know they're all in the Senate now, to come and become the party chairman.
Now, another story that has been making the rounds, getting the notice, is proposed 8,000 naira transfer to about how many million households, and many Nigerians are against the backdrop that the federal government was committing about 70 billion of the 500 billion naira to the National Assembly. It was continuing to generate flags among Nigerians. What's your take on that?
You say regarding this palliative, Nigerians have lost hope since COVID. That there's no way you want to do anything of such that's going to be successful in Nigeria. It's going to be taken or overtaken by overzealous elements within the system. Yeah, the president might have good intentions to want to do that, but the real beneficiaries are actually not good. More than half of them are not going to be the real people who needed the money.
They
go into private pockets. We saw at a point in this country where, towards one particular fasting, the Muslim fasting, Ramadan, Saudi Arabia was distributing dates.
Yes.
And they brought dates to Nigeria. And a woman of all people was in charge of distributing these dates. Those dates ended up in the market.
Yes,
being sold. So you can imagine, this was something that was supposed to be for charity and all that, but they ended up in the market. During COVID, we saw how some persons were hoarding those things that were supposed to be distributed to people to alleviate their suffering during that period. Some people went and were housed food items. That's to show you the level of wickedness in this country. And these are people who are well-to-do, going as low as warehousing food items supposed to be shared among the downtrodden or the poor, but they warehouse them because they want to use that to enrich themselves the more. We also saw how a former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, a scam, who said to us in this country that during COVID, that ministry was distributing food to pupils in their homes.
Yeah, during COVID lockdown.
During COVID lockdown, they were tracing the kids to their homes, and in most of these areas where those foods are supposed to be distributed are areas where you don't have address. How did you know where they are staying? Because it was not COVID was not something that was envisaged to say, oh, we already collected their data so that we know where to reach them from. That's to tell you the level of wickedness in this country. So is when you have, because even whether it's PDP government or it's APC government, we're all Nigerians. It's the same. You can keep deceiving yourself and say, oh, it's Labour Party, is this one? We're all Nigerians. It's the same us that are in our police. Whatever is going on in the army is our brothers that are there. You understand? So we can be deceiving ourselves. Oh, is this one that is this, or is this Igbo man that is that, or how this Hausa man? They are all the same. We have the same blood running in us. Nothing is going to change until we change our mentality, because that is the thing. It's not about your tribe, it's your mentality. There's this poverty mentality that makes everybody wants to feel all of it must belong to only me. So those are our problems in this country.
No, many people have the opinion that instead of distributing that money, which you know actually, as you rightly pointed out, will not get to these Nigerians, these target Nigerians, that the money should be used for other purposes like buying of transport buses and all this stuff. And of course, some social media platforms that are sharing some, let it get to them, that is still going to actually listen to this.
Well, the point is I want to believe
you also
government,
feel that the 70 billion that is direct given to National Assembly, is it justified? How do you juxtapose that with just the 8,000 naira that is going to household?
First and foremost, about the 8,000 naira, I believe that the government must have thought it out. The only problem is that they need to explain. You see, and that's governance is about communication a lot of times. They need to explain in total how they arrive at that and how they feel, because you need to convince the people you're governing that this is our own convictions and this is what we want you to also believe in, because these are the reasons, these are the indices that says the only thing we can do at this time, first and foremost, is to go towards this direction and try to share this money. The people who are saying it should have been transportation and all that, noble idea, but it's not. Go and write it down. You have a diary. It can never work in Nigeria. There's no any transport system managed by the government that has ever worked. We saw in this town how we used to have luxurious buses, even in the city of Abuja. Where are they today? You understand? Where are they today? You understand? Because give them 2-3 years, they are out of the system. So really, whatever the government wants to do, I don't mind. Maybe they can inject that money back into the petrol as subsidy. You get what I'm saying? So that it will still go a long way in saying, okay, even if you are reducing the cost by 15 naira, people still feel at least it's a step in one direction. But most of these things are really not going to work in Nigeria. It is same Nigerians. If the PDP government comes in and decide to do the same thing, it's still the same Nigerians. Labour Party comes in, still the same Nigerians. The Labour Party is not going to Cameroon to pick people who are going to run the affairs of this country. And the president is not going to be the one to come to the studio here or to be in the market. You understand what I'm saying? So it is a hell lot of problems that we're having in this country. We ourselves, the citizens, are not even helping matters. If you give any Nigerian any small power, even if in your own leadership newspaper here, any small power, you'll be wondering whether it's the same guy you knew 2 years ago. So we are all the same. The only way is, I feel the right way to go is for the government to look for either you can actually even subsidize food items. You get, maybe by giving the farmers or whatever it is, look for a way to subsidize it rather than just dishing out this money, because it will eventually get to maybe 30 or 40% of the people who are actually in need of it. The rest of the people, somebody is already calculating, what about if we hide this 1 billion out of that money? Exactly. Another person at another level will. So it goes from echelon to echelon. This one will remove his own. It gets to the people who will disburse it. They will remove their own, on and on, and then be snapping pictures how they are distributing the money or how they are sending. Most of the people who actually needed this money don't even have bank accounts. That's the truth. That's the truth.
And it also brought us back to that Abacha that time that they got back from US and they said they were going to share. I don't know if you receive text. Your friends will tell you, oh, just send your account number. They say they are going to transfer 100, but out of that 100, you return
So,
60.
yeah,
So and so amount, and the one that you are returning is much more
than the
than
one
the
you
one
are
that you
retaining.
are asked to keep. I have
Yes.
made on those occasions. I always said, no, they should keep it. I don't want it.
All those ones are even
What is
scams.
actually the way forward? And you've not thrown light on the 70 billion that is meant for the National Assembly.
Yeah, you see that of the National Assembly. The National Assembly have actually have always
Mm.
been at the forefront of, amassing so much wealth to its members.
Mm.
The, I know from time immemorial we've always had this, even from the amount they always earmark for legislators for furnitures.
Mm.
There's also one they call it for clothing allowance
Mm.
and all that. It's always been very bogus figures, and you are wondering, I thought you are coming here to serve your people, to represent your people. Which furniture allowance are you
No.
collecting? They will collect that of house allowance, furniture allowance, clothing allowance, and all that. And these monies are not, these are monies that can buy you cars,
Mm.
So we have always had that issue with National Assembly, that regardless of who is at the helm of affairs at the National Assembly, they always look for a way to enrich themselves. And I think that culture needs to stop.
Mm.
70 billion is too much. If these monies will go to all your constituencies, it will go a long way in even alleviating the pains of the people who voted you to come here. And I can bet you that none of them is actually a pauper. You can't even win election as a senator without having money, So it's unfortunate that they
even
keep
the
doing
slot
this.
alone, so
You
you
know,
have to.
even the money to buy forms and all that is something else.
Thank you so much for that. And just before we go, we are looking at these sit at home businesses, schools,
Mm.
and of course, it's in line with that. That some a truck that was meant for the army intercepted Anambra Bank truck with ammunition. Don't you think it's about time federal government moved in? Of course, we read reports yesterday that the federal government chief of army staff issuing orders to go to the southeast.
Yeah, I think it's high time. I know the reason why they've actually been holding back in moving in. They
Mm.
don't really want to create some kind of chaos,
Mm.
because you see this sit at home thing, it will now the story will now move from, it's not even sit at home,
Mm.
that the federal government is just moving in to just kill Igbos.
Mm.
Now expectedly that you feel prominent Igbo leaders should be coming out to condemn this sit at home. A lot of them are keeping mute. I think it was Ifeanyi Uba
no, that thing.
that first came out,
Okay.
to
Mm.
say this is not right, and then Simon Ekpa was issuing threats to say they should even
Far
anything
away,
that
Finland.
that Igbo should even stop patronizing whatever it is that has to do with the Ifeanyi Uba, and all that. And so it's a very sensitive issue that I know the federal government is also taking its time
So the
to
Southeast
study it.
governors have actually come together and that no, enough is enough.
They have to,
And we sell a report
because
that Enugu
yes,
was to see locked
businesses, because it's barbaric.
Same with
The people who are holding Nnamdi Kanu are in Abuja.
Mm.
The court is in Abuja. The DSS headquarters where it's being held is in Abuja. You go to your villages and be molesting and threatening your own people.
Did you see a video that trended about 2 weeks ago? How they went to some of these marketplaces
And started
they were
shooting and all that.
Yes.
So what point are you trying to make? You are killing innocent people that have nothing to do with the government, has nothing to do with the DSS or the courts. And then you are killing them, you're saying sit at home, grounding the economic activities of your own region.
People, your own region.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And I think it's high time the federal government, but they also need to be careful so that it doesn't escalate.
Many have called on the federal government to use diplomatic means, if it means repatriating, expelling our ambassador from Finland and calling, repatriating him. Is that okay?
Yeah, that should be the right thing to do. Because you cannot. I remember there was something, I think like either last year or 2 years ago, a guy in the UK, in Nigeria, was actually arrested. I think he was about to also be deported. That is inciting war on social media.
Yeah, yes.
And that guy hasn't done half of what Simon Ekpa is doing. So I don't know what the Nigerian ambassador over there in Finland is doing while we're still having Eba still running his affairs
Running his
as if
affairs.
nothing is happening.
Thank you so much. On that, we come to the end of today's Tuesday edition of Inside Nigeria. And it's been a pleasure to have you back.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
So, viewers, this is where we end today's program. Until we come your way again, sometime same station. See you then. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.